And I'm really excited to introduce our speaker today. And we are proud to welcome the newly minted Dr. Katie Stewart. Dr. Stewart is a 7th grade language arts teacher at Chattanooga Valley Middle School in Walker County. She earned a Bachelor of Arts in English Education from Lee University in 2004. And in 2022, she earned a Master of Education in Educational Leadership from Kennesaw State University. In April of 2024, she successfully defended her dissertation in teacher leadership at Kennesaw State University. In 2012, Stewart was one of the 12 teachers chosen to participate in the University of Iowa's Belen Blank Fellowship Program in Gifted Education. Stewart has worked as a teacher in 3 states and in 1 foreign country, but she is most proud to be recognized as an outstanding educator in the community her family calls home. As the daughter of a lifelong educator, her father, who was also her speech and language debate coach in high school, Stewart is passionate about incorporating speaking and listening skills into her classroom. The COVID-19 pandemic intensified the need for personal connection in schools. As such, Stewart cultivates a classroom environment that fosters critical thinking, creates a strong sense of community, and honors student voices. As evidenced by her role as president of the Walker County Association of Educators, Stewart is a staunch advocate for public schooling. She believes that education is a basic human right and that it is the privilege and responsibility of a society to provide the best education possible for all students. So please welcome Dr. Stewart.
Hi, thank you guys so much for having me. Yeah, it's very exciting. I'm going to kind of start with a brief introduction, and we're going to have 2 breaks for like official questions and answers. But if you have anything you're thinking of while I'm talking, just go ahead and type it in the chat or the Q&A box and we'll get to it. I like to be conscious of all the adult learning needs. So we're all adults. Get up, do what you need to do, take care of your business. And also maybe you're like me and have ADHD. And if you wait to ask a question, you'll forget what it is. So just type it when you think it. So I was asked to talk with you guys about well-being and stress management. So we are going to go there. And also I think to some other places that are related. My name is Dr. Katie Stewart. I'm still getting used to it. I defended on April 1st. It is exciting. So we're going to start. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about me, and that is not because I'm egocentric. It's because I really believe we teach from who we are. And if I'm going to teach you something, I want you to know who I am. We're going to talk about a survey that I gave some of my closest colleagues in order to prepare this training for you. And then we're going to talk about community, during which time I will quote a metaphysical poet and a Saturday Night Live star. So we'll do that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how my doctoral research connects to this topic. So I want to start, I love this quote. You can teach a student a lesson for a day, but if you can teach him to learn by creating curiosity, he'll continue learning as long as he lives. And that is really how I was raised, and it's how I nurture children in my classroom. I think it's all about curiosity, about making connections and uncovering unexpected things for me in the world of literature in my classroom. So this is me. You guys just got a snapshot. Thank you for reading that, Lauren. So what Lauren read was actually part of my official bio for the Georgia Teacher of the Year competition last year. So every year Georgia picks one teacher of the year. And for 2024, it was my friend Christy Todd from Fayette County, but I was one of the top 10 finalists for the state teacher of the year, which was such an honor. This bottom picture is my family. That's part of who I am. This is my husband, Adam, and my kids. They're in 4th and 2nd grade. They go to Fairland School in Walker County. And at the top is me and my friend Vina Black, also a top 10 finalist from DeKalb County, and Superintendent Richard Woods, and he is the best. And now that I was a finalist for State Teacher of the Year, I get to do really cool stuff, like twice a year go and be in meetings with Superintendent Woods and give a teacher's perspective to educational issues and policy. And also by virtue of that, I'm a member of the Georgia Teacher of the Year Association and a lifetime member of the National Network of Teachers of the Year. I'm also very passionately the president of the Walker County Association of Educators. We are a chapter, a local organization of the Georgia Association of Educators, which is a chapter of the National Association of Educators. And if you are not already a member of our Aspiring Educators organization, I'm going to mention that at the end. So here's what I believe about education. Agree or disagree, I just want you to know this about me before we get into other things. This is the philosophical heart of where I'm coming from. Education is a force for liberation. Public education is education of the people, by the people, and for the people. And I think that teachers are uniquely situated to shape the world's future, but we can't do that by sticking with the past. We have to be willing to embrace and change for the world that we live in now and for the future world that our students will be living in. As a doctoral, I usually say doctoral candidate, as a doctorate in teacher leadership, I believe that every teacher is a leader. It's not just our official administrators and educational leaders who have leadership potential. Each and every one of us engages in leadership roles every day. I believe that a strong foundation in literacy teaches students to amplify their voice and engage in public discourse. Starts in pre-K and kindergarten with those phonics lessons, that letter recognition. Our district is doing Orton Gillingham, and the level I'm teaching in, this is about crafting those powerful sentences, those powerful memoirs, writing powerful literary analysis essays. And all of that is about teaching kids to find their voice and to enter into our society with something to say. I was talking to a colleague about this next one today. We all teach different ages and different subjects. Looking at the chat, you guys are teaching second grade, kindergarten, first grade, special education, gifted, science, PE, all of those things. We're all teaching curiosity and critical thinking. If you're teaching PE, you're teaching critical thinking. Where do you hit the ball? How do you catch it? Who do you get out on the other team? What are the rules in the game? Right? It doesn't matter what you're teaching. We teach those core things. We want to teach kids to be thinkers. And finally, it's not something you can do alone. You can't teach alone. We're going to talk about that a lot tonight because that's a lot of what comes up with well-being and stress management. It's not something you can do without other people. Sorry. Okay. So I did a thing. I'm a qualitative researcher. My dissertation is qualitative. It means I interviewed people and wrote qualitatively about the things that they said and the truth that I found there. So I thought, what better way to prepare for today than to do some of the same? So I sent a very simple 2-question survey out to some of my closest teacher friends and colleagues, not just in Walker County, but across the state. A lot of this information, I think, comes from other Teacher of the Year finalists. And I asked them, let me go forward for a second. I asked them 2 questions. I said, what advice do you have for new teachers about maintaining their well-being? And we all know teaching can be a stressful job. What is a tip, strategy, trick you have found to alleviate or manage work-related stress? And I conducted some qualitative analysis in Atlas TI. I know they said we had some doctoral students on board, so you may know what that is. And I identified 4 themes in their responses: boundaries, self-care, community, and practical advice. We're going to come back to that because as I was analyzing those responses, what I kept thinking of is this. I kept thinking about teacher burnout. And I think the reason that University of Georgia has you attending a workshop about teacher stress management and well-being is because of this. So the 2022 Georgia Teacher of the Year is my friend, Cherie Bonder-Goldman. And she did something very cool when she won State Teacher of the Year. She chaired at UGA, she chaired the Georgia Teacher Burnout Task Force, Voices from the Classroom. And they wrote an incredible report. You guys are going to get a copy of my slides, and this is all clickable. So if you have not read it, you can click there and read the actual report. But I want to read you something that she said in the letter that introduces the report. Here's what Cherie said. The teachers I know don't want to walk away. Their motivation for becoming a teacher, their aspiration to make the dream come true, their heartfelt passion for making a difference in the lives of students, none of those things have changed. But too many of our teachers are running on empty. And when you think about well-being, when you think about managing your stress, this is what we're trying to mitigate, that feeling of running on empty. And in that report, they engaged in qualitative analysis of their own. They came up with 5 themes. It's very readable. If you click through that, you can read a summary of their findings. But here are the 5 things burning out teachers in Georgia, and I would argue everywhere. 1, assessment. Milestones I have in 2 weeks. Some people have it next week. Assessment, assessment, assessment. In my district, we have milestones and maps, and you've got benchmarks exams, and you've got reading plus benchmarks and IXL benchmarks. Assessment, assessment, assessment. It's a stressor on teachers. Preserving and protecting time. We have elementary school teachers who, though they are guaranteed duty-free lunch by law, don't get it. Their districts are strategic waiver school systems. The district waives duty-free lunch. You don't have any more duty-free lunch and you're exhausted. This is gonna get happy. We're not there yet. Pressures and unrealistic expectations. At one point in my career, I was our gifted coordinator doing all the gifted testing for our school for a whopping $0 stipend. And I was teaching a phonics reading intervention in the morning. Pressures and unrealistic expectations. Teacher voice and professional growth, huge one. Teachers are founts of wisdom and knowledge, and sometimes it feels like literally no one cares. And that can make you feel burnt out. And finally, mental health and wellness, which is really, to me, what all of these things center around. And they do some good writing in there about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how when those needs are not met, that leads us to this place of being unfulfilled and burnt out. So I thought of that in my friends' responses because I see these 4 themes in their responses as very connected to those findings of the Teacher Burnout Task Force report. I don't want to be the person who just reads everything on a slide. So I'm going to show you some of the responses from my colleagues and highlight a few. But again, you'll have this on your own as a PDF. I want to go through what I have, but I'm more than happy to spend as much time as we have in our hour talking to y'all and answering your questions as well. So the most common theme in these responses was boundaries. Ooh, I forgot I have this. This is a word cloud of all the responses I have. And so it's a word frequency analysis. So what you see in the middle, those are the most prevalent words and concepts. Take a second and think, what do you see? When I asked my colleagues about stress and well-being, I see time management, home, work. It's dichotomy here, right? Home versus work. That's going to come up. Managing time, learning, grading, people, school, right? All right on that target. So boundaries. Again, just asking 2 simple questions. How do you handle your well-being? What do you do to deal with stress? These are what some expert teachers have to say to you about boundaries. Learn to separate work from home. Your time is your time. I like this. Have firm boundaries about when you will spend your time on work tasks. Do not agree to extra things that you don't have to do unless you want to do them. Learn how to say no politely and firmly. Do you guys have the ability to like hit a thumbs up? I should have asked. Okay, maybe not. Do you have, maybe just think to yourself, is that something you struggle with? Do you have a hard time saying no? I used to have a really hard time saying no. And then I had to write a dissertation and I learned to say no to a lot of things. Can you work next or gate at the soccer game? Sorry, I can't. I got to go home and work on my dissertation. That's a struggle. Learn how to say no politely and professionally and firmly. It's a big part of maintaining boundaries. Finding balance. Right? You have to remember that you're a person and you have a life outside of school. And if you can find that balance, and listen, one thing you're going to see is a lot of these teachers, and I agree with them, are saying it takes a few years. So the first year you may be lousy at this. The second year you may be a little better, and so on. And it takes some time to figure out how to set those firm boundaries. But I like that idea of learning to say no and practicing saying no. If you always try to do 100% of the things 100% of the time, you will get burned out. You're a person too. The second thing they talked about was self-care. Some of this, I mean, it's all great. Some of it I find especially enlightening. The second comment said, find something to do each week that brings you joy that is not related to your job. Y'all, I am proud of myself. I am reading a book for fun for like the first time in 4 years. I need to do that for myself. I'm done with grad school. you need to find that thing, whether it's an intramural sport, whether it's a Bible study or a yoga session. This teacher said, get up an hour earlier, drink coffee, read a book. I love these last two comments. Take a second. You love the one teacher telling you to go to church and the other one says, drink some wine. Whatever it is for you that helps you take care of you as a person. We all know that saying that an empty pitcher has nothing to pour into the glass. If you are not being reminded of who you are as a person, then you don't have much to give your students. And my best teaching happens on days when I feel personally fulfilled. I think that's huge. Oh, you guys can raise hands. Okay, that's good to know. Good. Self-care. If you have any ideas for that when we get to the question and answer, I'd love to hear even what you're doing now as a student to kind of maintain that self-care. And I will say, listen, teachers are not highly paid, especially in the beginning. Some of this stuff might be expensive self-care, but there are really cheap and free things you can do to just like go for a walk, listen to a podcast and go for a walk. That's one of my favorite things. Okay, this is it. This is my favorite. In fact, it's so my favorite, I'm going to save it for last. Let's talk about practical advice first. So again, those same two questions, and I was gleaning through responses, looking for themes. And one of them was just really practical advice. This is the gold for me because it's one thing to like wax philosophical about a mindset or about setting boundaries. These are some like hard practical things that you can do. Don't take all that work home, especially if you're going to teach English. Maybe you're not crazy like me. When you take papers home in a bag, it's called a field trip. You're not going to grade it at home. I hate when I was a new professional, I graded at home a lot, and now I almost never grade at home. If you can't get it graded at school, it might not get graded. And that's okay. We don't have teacher guilt about that. You're a person. You should be able to get your job done in a 40-hour work week. This second comment, I think, is from a first-year teacher at our school who student taught with us. And he said that if he needs to work on things, he stays at school later instead of bringing it home. That's been a mindset shift for him. So you have that stack of essays to grade, you have those game tapes to review, you have that IEP to pour over and make sure that you've written it correctly. Stay at school an hour later and do it. And then when you walk out the door, you know it's done, right? It's off. It's off your mind and you can focus on your family, you can focus on your friends, on your favorite TV show, whatever it is. I love this. Keep learning. It keeps you motivated and excited about teaching. I'm so excited. I'm reading a book for fun because I teach English. I should be reading books for fun. Keep learning. Whatever it is you're curious about, whatever it is you're loving learning about at UGA, keep learning about it. Attend an online course. Read a book. Go to the library. Check some things out. Continue learning. It does keep you very excited and it gives you new things to bring into the classroom for your students. This one, I think, also maybe from that first-year teacher. I love it. He said, I make sure that a lot of my time outside of work revolves around spending time with people my own age. It can be really isolating spending all day with little kids. And our little kids are 13, but you understand his point. You need time with people who are your age. It's just so valuable. And I think that falls under self-care, but it's also super practical advice. And the final practical advice on the bottom, and this kind of goes back to Harry K. Wong, First Days of School, which is a classic if you haven't read it. I think Dr. Wong just passed away. But the first couple months of school, that's when you're the busiest. You hit the ground running, you set routines, get there early or stay late, don't do both, but that's the time when you set the tone and the pace for your classroom. And if you can set it at the beginning of the year and maintain it, then you're not fighting for it all year. The kids know how it goes in your classroom. I had a new student transfer in last week and he was not getting with my program. But because I have such a regular routine in my classroom of high expectation and a positive learning environment, he spent one day kind of doing the wrong thing. And he looked around and went, this is not going to get me points with these kids. And he is getting on my train. right? Because I set that tone in the beginning of the year. So I don't go home worried about bad behavior in my class. It's handled because I have a proactive, positive learning environment in my classroom. And when you can set that up at the beginning of the year, you're going to have way fewer problems. All right. Now my favorite. So my dissertation is actually about community, and if we have time, we'll talk about that at the end. But a lot of the responses to those, again, two simple questions: tell me about well-being, tell me how you manage stress. A lot of those ideas centered around community. And my kids are home. I just want to read this one to you because the voice is so strong. And I think it's just really beautiful advice. This teacher said, create and maintain a personal support network. Who can you lean on when you are so heckin' tired and you don't want to eat, let alone prepare a meal? Who will hold you while you let out the frustrated, snotty sobs you swallowed during the day? Who can you call at 7 a.m. when you're in the parking lot of the school and the day hasn't even started and you don't think you can do it and you feel like a complete loser and a horrible failure? Teaching is really, really hard. It helps if you're not alone. Also, seek out professionals you can connect with. It's hard doing this job alone. Do you hear that repetition? It's hard to do it alone, right? John Donne, metaphysical poet, says, no man is a rock, no man is an island unto himself. You're not just you. You're connected to a vast sea of educators. You have support through UGA, through opportunities like this, through other colleagues, classmates going into schools, people in your team and your department. And I love that this person mentions finding a professional. And I love the last comment here too. I recommend finding mentorship within your building. You are going to come into school to a teaching job knowing a lot of things. In some cases and in some areas, more than people who've been doing it a long time. I love learning from brand new teachers. But you don't know everything. So you need a mentor in that building. You need somebody who can show you the ropes and not just your copy code. Somebody who can help you work through difficult situations with students, who can help you understand how to teach difficult content. You need that person in your corner. Someone you can talk and vent to. But we're going to talk about it in a minute. Don't vent to just anybody. You need to be careful about that. Let's see. All right, here's my what not to do. I've given you a lot of positive advice from some great teachers. Here's the Dr. Katie Stewart advice on don't do it, with an Amy Poehler quote, because Amy Poehler. Don't assume you know more than anybody. You literally might, but don't assume it. Don't assume that you have nothing to contribute. You have things to contribute. You know things. Some of my colleagues have not been in a college class in 30 years. You have. You know some things. Particularly, I think our newest graduates know things about diversity, equity, and inclusion, about culturally responsive pedagogy, about technology, Web 2.0 tools in education, the things you know about that our more experienced teachers don't know. You've got it to contribute. I said this before, don't vent to everybody. No venting at all to anyone at work until you find your person. You can complain to your husband, your boyfriend, your mom, your best friend, your sorority sister, your fraternity brother, whoever, but don't complain at work to anyone about anything until you know you have your person. And don't give up. Don't give up. Don't watch these TikTok videos about teachers who quit after a year and think, I'm going to accept that narrative for myself. Teaching is hard work, but it's the most beautiful work. Don't get sucked into the negativity. Learn how to respond neutrally. When someone says to you, can you believe that faculty meeting? It could totally have been an email. You can just say, oh yeah, I guess that happens. Right? Or, oh yeah, hey, where's the Coke machine? Right? People want to draw you into negativity. And if you want to have a positive sense of well-being at work, and I'm not talking about toxic positivity, I'm just talking about like mentally good positivity and well-being, you need to not give into the negativity. How, baby? All right, we're going to pause. I've got a break built in for any questions, and literally anything I have said, anything you have thought about, anything you want to ask. now would be a good time. It's also a great time if you just want to refill your drink. I don't have to write any hall passes. That's exciting to me. No one is asking me to go to the nurse. Maybe in the chat, and then you guys in the chat helps me too. I love a question because it helps me tailor. So like even something you're wondering about stress management or time management or maintaining well-being at school, maybe that thing that you're like worried about in the back of your head. Okay, so Caroline is asking someone at my level, how do you continue to grow in your profession? So for me, Caroline, that was going back to school. I think that helped me immensely, especially the things I was mentioning about like working with diverse student populations, integrating technology, all of that was really strengthened in grad school. I had to learn to set, I'm a people pleaser by nature, and I grew up in like a cultural setting that encouraged women in particular to be people pleasers and say yes, especially to men in authority positions. That's the long, hard road for me. I've had to learn to give that firm but polite no. And I think the other thing too is when you, Catherine, I see your question too. I'll get to it. The other thing too is I say no to things, but anything I say yes to, I do it all the way. So, you know, ideally, the expectation your administrator develops of you is that when Caroline says she will do something, she will do it, and she will do it the best she possibly can, and she'll reach out for support if she needs it, but she's going to own it. And that way, when you do have to say no to something, even politely, I think it's understood more. I also think that the stress comes from just saying yes too much, and that just takes practice. You'll say yes to some things and then think, I'll never say yes to that again. Catherine says, any tips for finding a mentor or that person? So a mentor, yes. And I used to have a slide in this presentation about that and I took it out. Look for someone who builds relationships with students. And that may seem obvious, but it's not always. Look for someone who stands in the hall and knows the kids by name and talks to them and remembers things about them, because that person is there for the kids. Yes, Spencer, I'll get to that. That's a great question. Look for someone who you can tell has something to give. I'm going to give you an example of someone who was that for me in just a minute. And the venting, Catherine, honestly, I have made that mistake. I think we all have in life, but in teaching, it can be such a professionally detrimental mistake. My gosh, my laptop's about to die. I'll hold on. I almost, they tell teachers to like, don't smile till Christmas, which is ridiculous and stupid advice. But, I just don't know if you found your person till at least Christmas that first year, right? Get through some seasons of the year, make sure you can build some trust, make sure. The other thing is, if they're coming to you to talk about other people, they're not your person, because what they're going to do is go tell someone else about you. They're going to say, oh, that new teacher, Julie, she's always asking me about discipline. She doesn't know what to do. And you thought you could trust her. So if they're talking bad about other people, they're going to talk bad about you. Are they nice to the kids? Do they have a good attitude about coming to work? Those are your people. Spencer is asking about managing your time in the classroom. So Spencer, it totally depends on what kind of schedule you're on. I teach 63-minute blocks or classes. I teach 4 a day plus a study skills that's like 45 minutes, and that's an intensive reading intervention. I think it's routine, routine, routine. If you can, and that's like an ADHD life hack for me too. I don't mix things up too often because I don't do well with like changes and transitions. I like to find what works and make it work. We do fun activities, but like the schedule, I think you minimize any time in between activities. So we never just start to do something without me giving explicit directions. And if I say it out loud, it's also on the board. The kids know where to look for what they need. We have classroom jobs in my classroom. If that's something you're interested in hearing about, please reach out and connect. I can share with you what I do, but I don't pass out papers or sharpen pencils or erase the board or run my own errands, or I have like 11 jobs and the middle schoolers do it and they love it. I give them one piece of candy a week if they have a job. And it helps me manage time because I literally don't do things that I used to do that take up time. Kids can do a lot more than we give them credit for. As a fellow people pleaser and overachiever, what's your advice on how to step away and focus on your own success rather than contribute to someone else's? Yeah. Um, hmm. So it's like the other person is a ball hog, if that's the sports metaphor. I mean, the nice thing about teaching, and Braxton, I don't know if you have your own classroom yet or if you're just student teaching, but it's like your own little fiefdom, your own little kingdom. And that means your own story is happening there and you have stories with the students in your classroom. And so I think maybe that would come into play like in a department or if you have a coaching relationship with someone. But I would say focus on the stories of community that are happening in your classroom. Like your team is now you and your students. You are their captain. That's the story of my school year. The story of my school year is my brilliant homeroom this year and how they have me in stitches and how they don't turn the lights on in the morning if they get in the room before I do because they like to surprise me. And then I call them vampires. And it's like very silly and stupid and wonderful and amazing. And that's our story. I think it's where you put your mental energy. Like my mental energy is on those adorable 13-year-old babies in my classroom and all the things they can do now that they couldn't do before. Maybe part of the secret there is just quit thinking about that other person and think about the kids you have in front of you and what they need and the story that you're telling together. I think, yeah. Anything else? Those are all good. Tough, but good. Okay, well, I'm gonna be mindful of time and push through a little bit, the rest of what I have, and then if there's time at the end, I'd love to hear more questions. Oh, wait, answered, okay. Teaching is lonely, kind of covered this. You can feel alone in a crowd, afraid to ask for help, limited time to collaborate. You have been a student and now you have to be a professional, and that's weird because you're like kind of an adult in college, no offense. But when you are renting an apartment on your own and have a job and you got to take care of yourself when you're sick and you've got to grade papers, you're like really an adult. Pressure leads to stress, which leads to overstimulation. That's stressful. You could be isolated. You might be the only PE teacher at your school, the only Spanish teacher, the only special ed teacher in your grade level. That can feel very isolating. It can feel like no one understands. And that is where community comes in. So really briefly, this is me 20 years ago. I was a brand new teacher teaching 11th grade language arts in rural Kentucky, and I was a hot mess. I was so arrogant with my bachelor's degree. I thought I would go in and just wow them with my dazzling intellect, and they would be like so excited about American literature just because I was excited. I didn't know how to manage a class. I had this group of 11th graders and they were awful to me, and I deserved every bit of it because I had no idea how to manage them. They were only like 5 years younger than me. And like one girl even pulled me aside and told me she was going to submit my name to a TV show for people with bad fashion. It was bad. It was very, very bad. I didn't know what to do. I was thinking of quitting teaching. What am I doing? This is not the career for me. And then Dave. This is Dave. Whoever it was asking about a mentor. This is what you're going to do. You're going to look for a Dave. Dave taught AP English. He taught next door to me and he was a football coach. in no other life circumstances would Dave have been my friend. He's perfectly nice. He's a good bit older than I was, and he's like a football dude. Dave was watching me, and he saw me floundering, and he saw me sending kids out in the hall and calling the principal and writing referrals and complaining to anyone who would listen. And one day Dave pulled me aside and he said, "Hey, Katie, 11th grade going okay?" No. He said, I'm going to show you what to do. And he gave me a very simple classroom management strategy that he used with his class. And within 1 week, my whole class was turned around. And here's why I want you to find a Dave or be a Dave in your career. It's not the only time Dave talked to me. He would check in with me. How's 11th grade going? How's so-and-so going? How'd that go? That okay? Hey, you got to call that parent. You want me to go with you? Right? Dave saw me as a new and totally clueless and a lot arrogant teacher. And he observed me and saw what I need and helped me and sustained that help through the rest of my year in that school. And that's who you're looking for. You're looking for someone who's looking out for you. Find a Dave, be a Dave. I have a village now. This is at my school. These are my best girls and my best guy, Chris. Chris went to UGA. He was pre-med, but now he's a teacher. This is when Richard Woods came to our school to recognize me. But this is my village. I don't do my job alone. These are my people. This is my teacher of the year village. Right? These people are now my people. They are the best teachers in all of Georgia, and they're now my dearest friends. A lot of them filled out the survey. This is my village in the Georgia Association of Educators. Here I am at the Capitol with our state representative, Mike Cameron. And when you are a member of GAE or our Aspiring Educators chapter, you too get to lobby at the government for public education. Here I am at a training for GAE and recruiting new members to GAE in our county. Find your community, find your people wherever you are. It could be your teacher person is not at your school at all. It could be they're a member of your local teachers organization and you just haven't met them yet. This right here is Debbie Baker, and she's one of my people. She teaches at Fairland School where my kids attend. She was the former president of our organization, and now I'm the president. I can call her about anything. This is Shirley White. Miss Shirley is one of my people. Miss Shirley has been teaching for over 40 years in the state of Georgia. She began teaching in segregated schools. Miss Shirley knows everything. She knows everybody, and I can call her with anything. She's part of my people. Finally, and I want to be done in like 5 minutes and leave some time for questions or just to be done. This idea of community as a strategy for well-being and stress management, right? The idea that we don't do it alone, that we're not a rock, we're not an island, is directly connected to the research I conducted for my dissertation at Kennesaw State. The secret to having wellness and mitigating stress as a teacher is community. And my dissertation focused on a group of teachers in a Title I school who had very little formal professional learning. And you need to know that's a real possibility. If you go to work in Fulton or Gwinnett or Cobb or even APS, these big metro counties, you're going to have, even Muskogee, right? You're going to have so much support. If you go to work in a smaller, more rural community, because of things like equalization, it just doesn't work out that you may have the same professional learning opportunities that people in larger districts do. And so the teachers I studied were desperate to learn new things and develop their craft, but they didn't feel helped. And so what I studied is the way that they helped each other to get better at their craft within the context of authentic community. And I had 2 questions. One, how do these teachers collaborate with one another to improve their practice? And 2, how does that collaboration fit within what's called a community of practice framework, which I'll show you more about in a moment. Oh, and here's my other Amy Poehler quote. It's my favorite. Find a group of people who challenge and inspire you. Spend a lot of time with them, and it will change your life. I really believe that's true. And that's the secret to not losing your mind as a teacher, I think. What is a community of practice? So really briefly, and this is a visual I created that's in my dissertation, but communities of practice this theory started in the late 1980s and early 1990s with Julian Orr and then Brown and DeGood in 91. And it started in the world of social science. So DeGoode's or Orr's original study was on people who repaired copy machines, like Xerox machines. And he studied them. He did an ethnography. And what he figured out was when they followed directions from their boss, they were terrible at their job. Like when they went by the manual, boop, 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 terrible. They could not fix the copy machines. But when they worked together and they like swapped stories over lunch and gave each other strategies and innovated their practices, they were suddenly very good at fixing copy machines. So what my dissertation does is it says that's the same thing for teachers, right? When you work in close community with other educators, and when you work together on authentic tasks, not the stuff your department head or your principal tells you to do, but like the stuff in the trenches that you figure out you need to do, that's what fuses your community. When you learn together and not just like concrete skills, but when you learn an identity and a way of being with one another, that's community. And when you innovate practices, when you find novel solutions to weird problems, which is like most of teaching is finding novel solutions to weird problems, I'll be honest with you. When you do that, you're really functioning in community at a high level. And this is very different from formal professional learning. You will go to a lot of PLC meetings. Nothing wrong with a well-executed professional learning community, nothing at all, except that it's hierarchical. So like your boss is in charge of it, or if he's not saying he's in charge of it, he's like probably actually in charge of it. And a community of practice is different. It is about whoever holds the knowledge in that individual circumstance. They're the one with authority. So if you are coming into a tight teaching team and you're the new teacher with all the technology expertise, in that instance, you become the leader. And when they have something for you to learn that you don't know, they become the leader. And it's very reflexive and unofficial. And it's sort of how practice is realized and not what it's supposed to be. And what I found in my study is that the teachers I interviewed, their work was just replete with this idea of functioning within a community. I'm going to end with two things they said, and then I'll leave myself open for questions really about anything, stress management, well-being, teacher, boundaries, whatever related. These are two different quotes from colleagues that I interviewed in my study or participants in my study. One, it's different than any job. She's talking about teaching. It's different from any job like an assembly line where you're working shoulder to shoulder with someone, and that is where you're doing your specific part here. There is a communal, some aspect that goes beyond the professional level. Yeah, and maybe it doesn't hit all the notes of the professional level, but it's the people that we work with every day that make it a wonderful place to work. She's contrasting teaching with like Ford's assembly line. You don't just stand there and screw the nuts and bolts together. You're reaching across boundaries all the time. In great teaching, no one is doing just their job. We're always helping each other all the time. And this one is from a participant in my study who's been teaching over 27 years. She said, I think we're, well, the team model in that whether you look at it as a grade level team or whether you look at it as an academic subject team, I think the team model and the family atmosphere is huge in our school, not just teachers, the staff, everybody here. We function more like a family. We want what's best for each other. We help each other out. We step in when we can. Friends, that is the kind of world you're stepping into. It's beautiful. And you can be a part of it, and you can be someone who crosses lines to help others when they need it, and someone who is open to other people helping them, which requires humility. It is a beautiful, beautiful community of teachers that you are walking into in this professional life. And if you can remember that that's what you're walking into, and it's not your show, and you're not the ball hog, and you're not the team captain, but that you're a team player and you love what you do, then you will have a long, healthy, and successful career as a teacher. I had some other things to say, but I think I'm not going to say them. I would love to open it up to any other questions or comments or things that you have for me. Well, I'm waiting to see if anything else comes in. I do have some information on the screen for you. And again, we'll get this sent out. But if you are not already a member of GAE's Aspiring Educators Organization, you should be. It is free. We have a grant from the NEA. You can go to joingae.org. This is clickable on what you'll get. You can also contact Skylar Nunley with any questions. He's our UniServe director. It is a free membership that's going to come not just with free liability insurance for you, but with an opportunity to connect with other educators and receive training and advice and opportunity. It's a fantastic organization. So I wanted to leave that there. Good. We have some questions. Oh, that's just Lauren saying to leave questions. Oh, when I first start teaching, Spencer, yes. Are you special ed? Can you remind me? I'll just answer generally unless I see that come through. Yeah, I mean, I think special ed. Okay, I thought so. It's all about relationships with the kids and relationships with colleagues. I think coming in with that balance of humility and also confidence in what you know and what you add to the community. I think that's a big deal. And if you're on the young side, I know this is very practical. One of the things I didn't read to you, but you'll see it on the slides. One of my colleagues said his well-being tip is wear good shoes. I think that's great advice, actually. You're on your feet a lot. And it's good for your body, and then you feel good, endorphins, all that stuff. But I think you can also dress for success. When you're young, I think it's important to look really professional. When you come to work, it really sets a distinctive with the kids. If you're in your 20s and starting teaching, they kind of want to treat you like their bro or their buddy or their friend and add you on TikTok and all kinds of ridiculousness. So looking professional, looking the part, and then just focusing on building relationships. And honest to goodness, Spencer, ask questions. You're going to be writing IEPs like maybe from your first day of school. You're not going to know how to do everything. We have a kid at our school this year with a disability we have never had at our school. And we had to reach out. We had to reach out to the state level and get connected and ask questions. Don't think I can't ask a question because I've already asked too many questions. Ask questions. Yeah. It's a good one. Anything else? No. How should I manage the stress of feeling like I'm balancing? Yeah, Victoria, Victoria is asking about, so kids have so many different needs, right? There's the academic need. I have 7th graders reading at a 2nd and 3rd grade level, and they also have emotional and developmental deficits. And we see that so much more coming out of the pandemic because like my current students were in 3rd grade in 2020. And so they spent like their 4th grade year at home, basically alone with an iPad. I mean, there were adults, but you know what I mean? So there's some emotional deficits there. I think, and this sounds like teacher talk, Victoria, but 14 years in, it feels very true to me. You're teaching the whole child. And so one, I teach English, so I'm lucky. I can teach books that help us also think about who we are as people. So we're currently reading A Long Walk to Water, which is the story of a lost boy in Sudan during the Sudanese Civil War. But the boy in the book is also 11. We stopped today to talk about how being 11 or 12 can feel very old or very young. Turn and talk to someone. When did you first start to feel grown up, right? What is Salva feeling? How is he feeling? So any chance you get to use literature or really anything you're teaching to help with those emotional and developmental deficits, I think that's good because you can tie it to learning. And you also need to know, and this takes time, and you can see it through a mentor. Oh, whoever just asked about first year teachers, here's the other thing. Go observe teachers. If you're free on your planning period, ask your principal, who is great at classroom management that I can observe? Who is really rigorous in their content that I can observe? Once a week, go observe another teacher in your building. It's the best professional learning you'll ever get. Just watching colleagues, and never ever do it without telling them something nice. So bring a Post-it note with you, jot a note on it, stick it on their desk. Thank you so much for letting me watch you. You are so rigorous with kids. It was so inspiring to me, right? Like something positive. Yeah, Victoria, you have to know when to step away from the lesson too. I've had a lot of girl drama this year, like if you can imagine in middle school, like a lot. And there's my 8-year-old, an extraordinary amount of girl drama. And sometimes I have to say to my co-teacher, like, hey, can you cover this lesson for a minute? I need to go talk to so-and-so in the hall. And you just find ways to balance that. But it is difficult. And if they're cognitively and developmentally delayed, that's really challenging too. And, hopefully you're connected within your school system to make sure they're getting what they need in their IEP, that you've got therapy and counseling and, OT and speech and all those things. But it's a lot. It's just a lot. And that's why you need those boundaries and you need something for you, because you're not going to do everything perfectly. Oh my gosh, yes, Spencer, the classroom jobs. And really, my contact information is on the last slide. And if you just email me and ask about that, I'll send you all my resources. Yes, you do not get paid on Friday if you didn't do your job. One of the jobs is picking up the floor. One of the jobs is standing at the door greeting kids. I'm telling you, all I do is like teach and build relationships. I don't do the fiddly stuff. I think it totally helps with behavior. On day one of school, the other thing I tell my students is, I say, whose class is it? They say, yours. No. Ours? No. Like, it's ours. It's our class. The class belongs to you and it belongs to me. And if you teach English, Theme for English B by Langston Hughes is great on the first day of school. He says, sometimes I may not want to be a part of you as you don't want to be a part of me, but we are, and that's true, right? That's America. We're together, whether we like it or not. And we come back to that all the time. Hey, these kids are talking really loud in our classroom. Who does this classroom belong to? Yes, ma'am. Right. They know it's our space. And if you want it to be, and my classroom is warm and inviting, and I have flexible seating and colorful things on the walls and snacks in the cupboard and feminine supplies if the girls need them and mini deodorants if you have a smelly day, like I will do all the things for you, but you have to remember it's our shared space. And if you can create that collective mentality in your room, I think it just makes it a happier working environment for those stories to unfold in, for sure. Yeah, Spencer, please email me for that. It's like 2 simple documents. I just won't remember. I think so, Spencer, although I have an updated version of it. I will send it to her as soon as I'm off. I added 1 slide today, so I'll send her a new PDF. It should go out to you guys ASAP, but also, Spencer, my email is right there. It's kherder330@gmail.com. I blog on Medium sometimes. I'm going to get back at it now that I'm a doctor. And there's my LinkedIn as well. I'd love to connect with you guys if that's something you're interested in.
We can give it like 1 more minute for maybe any last
fine.
questions before we close out.
Yeah, if you guys have already accepted a job in the fall, you could tell us in the chat too. That's fun for me to see. I will tell you, we are www.walkerschools.org, and I know we have openings posted already. I love my county. We are on the Tennessee state line, like 5 minutes south of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and it is great. It's a great county to work in. I love it a lot. 'Tis the season for hiring new teachers. One thing you can do too, Lauren, I'll say this and then we can wrap up, is Spencer was asking about beginning. If you do not have a contract yet, I'm going to tell you the best question you can ask in your job interview. They're going to ask you a lot of questions. Then they're going to say, what questions do you have? You need to ask what level of support that school and district are giving to new teachers. And if they give you something really general, like, oh yeah, we try to give you a mentor, not the school for you, right? You need a level, and this is what research shows us early career educators need. You need a level of support that is significant. You need professional mentors, you need ongoing training, you need people coming and observing, you need regular feedback. Just your like 4 TEKS evaluations a year are not going to cut it. So if you have a choice, work for a district that has a really clear plan for how they're supporting early career educators. I think that's so important.